So today's session will really be to give you an overview of what Roomvo is, how you can access it. We'll go through a live demo, and also to give you a little bit of context in terms of why we've brought this tool into real estate, how it's different from other types of visualization or digital, sort of design tools that you may have used in the past. And then I will make sure to leave time for Q&A at the end. So I will talk for about 15, maybe 20 minutes, depending on how well my brain was working today. And then there will be time for questions. If you do have questions as we go through, feel free to pop them into the chat there. I might see them as we go through and answer them, but if not, I will make sure to get to those at the end. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of background on Roomvo as a company, we started in 2017, headquartered here in Toronto, but have since then grown to a team of over 300 people that work around the world. So we have team members across the US, South America, Europe, as well as Eastern Europe. And really, we started actually within the flooring industry, not in real estate. So if you've ever had the experience of looking for new flooring, maybe you've gone to a flooring showroom before, and you've looked at all the samples, maybe you've brought a couple samples home, whether it's carpet or hardwood or vinyl, and you've brought them and put them on your floor and tried to imagine what they would look like in the space. Roomvo's initial version of our product actually helped to solve that gap in between the seller of that product and the consumer that's trying to figure out which option is best, especially for a purchase like flooring that can be quite costly. And so now if you go into a flooring showroom that is powered with Roomvo, you will see a code next to the product that you can scan. You can upload a photo of your own space and it will display that product in there so that you have a better idea of what it looks like. So that's where we started in 2017. We have grown since then into other industries like paint, big box retail as well. If you've ever been on the Home Depot website and seen a button that says, see this product in my room, maybe it's a paint color, a furniture product. That is our technology that's powering that experience. So about 2 years ago, we took a step back as a team and thought, what other industries outside of e-commerce and sellers of home products could benefit from this visualization technology that we have. And naturally, real estate was an industry that came right up as an area of, potential synergy. And since then, we are happy to be able to reveal that room visualization for real estate is indeed something that makes sense and is in demand across the world, really. So we initially launched in the US with Redfin. They were our very first partner within real estate to go live with our technology, and since then have expanded across North America. You can see we have partners in Australia. South Africa loves this technology. We have a ton of South African partners now, and it's also kind of catching on in Europe as well. Really, anywhere there is a listing is a place where Roomvo can be, wants to be, and can add value to the home buying and browsing experience. So I will let you know at this point, because you might be wondering, what exactly is Roomvo? So simply put, Roomvo is a consumer-facing visualization tool that allows home buyers, as they're looking at listings, to redesign rooms, change flooring, finishes, wall colors, furniture right inside the listing environment. So instead of having to, download an image and bring it into another software and play with it there, it is a layer that lives right within the listing environment. A really common question. Oh, sorry, Mike, I'm looking at this. The chat appears to be disabled. I am sorry about that. I will try to enable that. If that didn't work, feel free to just put questions into the Q&A widget, and I'll get to those that way. A really common question that I get at this sort of point in the presentation is, okay, so is this virtual staging? And when we compare it to traditional virtual staging, which is really taking an image, uploading it to a tool and dropping different products in there. So, maybe it's changing the wall color, maybe it's putting different furniture in there, and then exporting that image and uploading it. The short answer there is no. Roomvo is not virtual staging. We're actually building our tool in a way that is intentionally more dynamic and a step beyond that. And I'll spend a couple of minutes just to give you a little bit of background on why that is and why we feel that the Roomvo solution is really aligned with the future of where the real estate industry is going when it comes to being able to use these digital tools, but being sensitive to some of the concerns and issues that exist with them. I think we've probably all seen headlines or heard stories similar to what we see in front of us, where using AI or any sort of digital tools to alter the listing images can go too far, right? And we saw two reports that came out at the end of 2025 where this concern was echoed both on the agent and broker side and also on the consumer side. This report showed that over 50% of agents expressed concern around risk of misrepresentation when it came to using virtual staging. And I think I've certainly heard, speaking with agents about experiences they've had where them and their clients did not realize the extent to which a property had been modified because it was not properly labeled, it wasn't clear to them, and they show up there to view the property, and it really is disappointing for the client because it doesn't look like what they thought it was going to. And again, we see that echoed on the consumer side. NAR actually released a report that showed a 34% increase in 2025 compared to the year prior of complaints about misleading images directly to NAR. And in California, they released Bill AB 723 that was effective at the beginning of this year that actually really has some specific direction around how virtual staging can be used, the types of disclosures and disclaimers that agents are using it, they need to comply with. So, these concerns, I think, are just increasing over time. People want to be able to view the property as it is and understand what home they're actually going to see if they decide to book a showing. So the conclusion from this slide might be, okay, I just shouldn't use virtual staging. If you have used it before, it's not a bad thing. You're actually on the right track, because on the flip side of things, we also have data that shows that homeowners do want this type of inspiration. They are going out and self-sourcing their own tools to be able to personalize and design spaces on their own if they're not available attached to the listing. Non-surprisingly, we've seen that increase tremendously year over year, especially from 2024 into the beginning of 2026. More and more home buyers that are using, self-sourced AI tools to download images and restyle them or explore them in other ways. And this is an interesting stat also that I found. Over 50% of home buyers report they actually will not consider viewing a home in person if the listing online lacks some form of immersive media. So that can be a Matterport, some sort of 3D tour, some sort of a dynamic design tool. I assume that these home buyers are probably earlier in their journey. Maybe they're not quite working with an agent yet. Of course, you all know that as they start working and getting further down that line with the agent, they'll trust your discretion to advise them on what properties to see. But I think this is a really interesting note where we have home buyers that are interested in this digital and design inspiration within the listing experience, but we have concerns about how do we bring that inspiration in a way that's not misleading. And so really that informs how we're building Roomvo today and how we continue to look at the product as we bring in new features and evolve it. So I'll go into the demo now. The main way that you will be able to access Roomvo, both you and your clients, is through OneHome. So when you share a client sharing link out through Matrix, it generates them the OneHome link, which is what they click on to view the property. You can also view that same link, and they'll be able to view the visualizer in that environment. There is a couple other ways or places that you'll be able to engage with the tool, and I will go through that after the demo. But for the purposes of this one, we will use OneHome as the example. Okay, so here I am on, this is clearly a test listing because I don't think this property in South Carolina is $899, although I don't know the market there very well, but bear with me. So to launch the visualizer, you're going to look at the bottom right hand of the image and click on the Reimagine Space button. So that's the actual launch point for Roomvo. You click on that, it'll load a gallery of images that are eligible to be restyled. So I can scroll down here and find one that I'd like to modify. This home is, I will say, probably not one that your average buyer is going to do a ton of work to, but you can get an idea through this of the different features that are available and also the impact that this would have on a property that is a little bit more dated or hasn't been updated in a few decades. And your average buyer would probably go through and make quite a few changes. So the first thing that the visualizer does is it takes a look at the space, and to the best of its ability, it goes through and looks at the structure and applies basically a layer on top that restyles it in the style that's been selected on the side here. So you can see we have multiple options, mid-century modern, rustic, industrial, to kind of bring some inspiration in. What our model is really focused on doing here is to take the existing structure of the space and apply different finishes to it, different furniture. What it's currently not necessarily optimized for is things like removing walls, turning a space into open concept if it's closed or vice versa. So, it's not really a tool for somebody to be able to go to a general contractor and say, yeah, I'm doing a big gut to this home. This is what I want it to look like. It's more so for your average person that is probably not going to do a massive amount of structural renovation, but the existing design style does not match what their preferences are. So our default experience here that you'll log into is this full room restyle. Of course, there's a lot of cases, if not the majority of cases, where the buyer might just be interested in swapping out one surface or one specific part of the room and not wanting to remodel the whole thing. And in those cases, you can use the remove style option at the top here. That will get rid of the applied style. And then using the wall, tubs, floors, vanities, whatever category of product marker I want to click on, these are the areas within the image I can actually individually edit. So let's click on walls for this example. Walls is the more complicated one because we're now tagging each individual surface as an option to be edited. So let's take a look at swapping this tile out, even though I think the existing tile is quite nice, but let's pretend it's not my taste and I want to see it with a different style in there. I can see what that looks like. I could then go through and select the other wall surfaces, apply a paint or a wallpaper or a different product to it there. And I can do that same thing and visualize, there's not a lot of floor space here, different tubs. Basically, any time that a tag appears on a specific product, that's something that I can individually go through and edit. I will note here as well that there is an additional feature at the top here, download. And so that download will give you the options of either an image file or a PDF that has both the redesigned image as well as details on the product that's been applied. When you download those, they do automatically have a disclaimer that's built into them as a watermark at the bottom of the image that specifies that it is digitally altered, and it has a link back to the original image as well. So if that is shared anywhere, it will already have that built in. And then I'll take a moment here as well just to stress the importance of what the purpose of this tool is, which is really for your clients to be able to go through and explore these properties in a way that's more personal. Maybe they're downloading the image to share with a friend or family member, their partner. Maybe it's to share it with you and get your feedback or take on some of the choices. Maybe you go in here and do this and send that image to the client. But really, it's designed to just be isolated to kind of that experience. The intention here is not for you to download images and re-upload them into the MLS system. So you can skip that whole process of modifying the images and uploading them onto the listing. This is built in as a layer on top of those original images. One final note here while we're in the demo on the product side is depending on the product that you click on or the category, you will notice that in some cases, there are actually product logos that show up. So in this case, this is a carpet. I can click and visualize it just like you saw in the bathroom, but we actually have a logo from a vendor here. And not only am I visualizing it, I can also explore more about this product by clicking on Find Store. And that will actually open up details about the product on that vendor's website. And for flooring, you usually have to get a quote, so there isn't pricing that's baked into it. But for some of our furniture categories, you can actually see what these modifications would cost if you wanted to go ahead and make changes to the space. So having these real products baked into the catalog is one of the top priorities for our team at Roomvo right now. We have a team of people that do work specifically on this vendor side to get more and more of these branded products into the visualizer, primarily because we just feel it's the strongest version of this experience. Most people can, like I mentioned, go through and take this image and put it through a different AI tool and say, make these carpets blue, but then it's still on them to go through and find that blue carpet. So we're really helping them take that a step further and understanding if they decide to transact on this home and they really want to make some of these changes, how much that might cost, where they can purchase those products, and so on. So you can keep an eye out for more and more of these products getting added into the experience. In this case, we actually don't have any paint or wall campaigns, as we call them, that are live within the region of this listing. And I know within Montana, that is also the case. So in that case, just keep your eye out for some paint and wall vendors to kind of come online within the coming months. Okay, so that is the demo of Roomvo in a nutshell, and the features that are accessible to you. I've talked a lot about the home buyer side and how the consumer is actually interacting with this tool, but we do have some data to share from Redfin and One Home that have conducted their own research on benefits that are just baked in naturally for you and having this feature enabled on your listings. So since Redfin launched with Roomvo, they were able to track a 3x increase in the number of showings that are booked on a property that has Roomvo enabled. And One Home also reported a 3x increase in the average time that's spent on page by a user when Roomvo is enabled. So we do know that this tool helps people connect with a property in a way that does feel more meaningful. They're going to a property probably having already had some ideas in their mind of things that they might like to do with it. And it just in general helps to boost engagement with the listings that you have. Okay, I did mention One Home is going to be the main way that we're focused on accessing the visualizer, but Roomvo can also be added to either brokerage sites or your own agent website if you have one that has listings on it. And there's no cost to that. Everything included in the partnership is 100% free. So you can add the Roomvo Restyle button onto your own website if you have one. And if you do that, you will also get access to our mobile visualizer link, which you can see a preview of on the right-hand side there. And that will bring all of those features that we just went through onto a link in your mobile browser where you can take a photo of any space and use the features on it. So, that's really helpful if you're walking through a property. It's not necessarily a live listing in front of you, but you have a client in front of you that's saying, oh, I hate these orange walls. You can take this link out, take a photo of the space and make it a neutral palette if that's what they'd like to see. And there's a few different applications of the way that we see people using this link. Sometimes people have thrown it into a QR code and put it at the front of a listing or at an open house to encourage people to explore the property visually as well as they walk through. So if you're interested in adding Roomvo to your site and getting access to the mobile link, you can just scan this code. It's going to pre-populate an email to my colleague Matthew, who handles all of our integrations onto agent and brokerage websites, and he will help you get set up. There is a quick terms and conditions that you do need to sign just to say, yeah, I'm authorizing putting this tool on my site, and then Matthew will help you get that set up. Okay, this is basically the last thing I have to say. So we do have a couple of new features that are in the pipeline for the remainder of 2026. The first one being more categories available for visualization. So you saw some tags in there, armchairs, vanities, as far as furniture goes, but we're expanding the reach of that catalog, as well as adding more vendors in. And then we will also have appliances, so fridges, oven, stove ranges, as well as lighting fixtures that will all be available for visualization within this year. We also have a new UI coming out. It's nothing like big and scary to relearn about the experience, but it really helps to make that product selection process a lot easier. So that example I showed you with the walls and the little tags coming up, it's an effect that's being rolled out that will just make it easier to actually explore those surfaces and understand what can be clicked on and redesigned. And then we are rolling out new design styles. One Home actually has early access to the 3 that are mentioned on here, but we are in the process of refreshing some of the design styles that are in there currently. If there is a design style that you really feel is missing that would reflect the Montana consumer market really well, and it's not within the visualizer right now, please let us know. We love hearing that sort of feedback, and in the past have been able to create additional styles to sort of fit that design that you know is really popular. And then the model that actually runs the whole experience is under constant R&D and development. So throughout 2026, you can definitely expect a few updates to that model. It's not going to be anything you have to opt into or click on. It's going to roll out automatically, but it'll help to continue to make the experience realistic and inspirational for the people that are using it. Okay, I have a couple questions in the chat, so I'm going to go and open those. We do have a landing page here that gives you the details and overview of our partnership with Big Sky. So you can scan that if you'd like. If there's someone that you work with that you'd like to share this information with, feel free to share that link around. We also have a form on that page. So if you have any general questions, it will likely also be my colleague Matthew that will end up answering your query to that. But you can fill that out and get in touch with our team that way.